Welcome back to the Explainer, guys. Today we're diving into something seriously spooky. We're going to break down a piece of microfiction that manages to build honestly just immense, suffocating psychological dread in literally a handful of lines. We are talking about The Eye of the Caller. You know, I absolutely love pulling apart how narratives manipulate our emotions, and man, this one, it's a total masterclass in tension. So grab a blanket, get comfortable, and let's get into the anatomy of a perfect scare. Okay, picture this. You're our protagonist, Aarav. It is exactly 3:17 a.m. The world is dead silent. And then your phone rings. An unknown number flashes on the screen. So what do? Do you answer it? Do you just hit ignore and roll over? That immediate gut-level sense of late-night vulnerability is something every single one of us instinctively understands, right? The author uses this to bypass any slow build-up. We're instantly put on edge, forced to ask ourselves how we'd handle the unknown calling in the dead of night. Which brings us right to section 1. A midnight unknown call. So Aarav actually picks up, but instead of a telemarketer or a wrong number, he hears a girl's voice. She's trembling, clearly terrified, and she whispers, "Hello, please don't hang up the phone." This is such a brilliant hook. It shifts the whole dynamic from, just being annoyed about waking up to suddenly being thrust into a desperate crisis. I mean, you can't just hang up on someone who sounds that afraid, can you? And just like that, without us even realizing it, the trap has been set. Look at how the story contrasts two totally different realities here. On one side, we've got Aarav's rational brain kicking in, telling him, hey, it's probably just a late-night prank. We've all done that, right? Tried to logic our way out of feeling creeped out. But then, on the other side, the girl just completely shatters that logic. She drops this bizarre, terrifying line, "He has no eyes, and he's in my room." This is exactly where the author really starts messing with our sense of safety. The impossible is thrown at us so fast that Aarav's logical defenses just instantly crumble. Moving right along to our next section, footsteps and sounds of fear. Let's map out this rapid sequence of sounds. We kick off at point 1 with that trembling, pleading voice. But then, the audio landscape takes a hard left turn. At point 2, the phone starts transmitting this heavy, labored breathing. The girl's voice, totally gone, replaced by this dark, ominous presence on the line. And by point 3, Aarav's rational dismissal is completely out the window. He panics and asks, "Who are you?" Notice the pacing here. It is incredibly fast. In just 3 beats, we go from a confusing late-night chat to sheer absolute panic. And that panic is about to escalate into a whole new dimension in our next section, a terrifying truth written in blood. Now, what's really fascinating here is how the author grounds the girl's confusion with this visceral, horrifying detail. She comes back on the line crying, saying she has no idea where she is, but there is a number written in blood on her wall. And it's this very number. Using blood obviously cranks the stakes up to life or death, but it's that specific mention of the phone number that really primes us for the true horror of the situation. So the crucial reveal happens right here. Aarav pulls the phone away to check the incoming caller ID. And the caller's number is his own number. Talk about a massive gut punch. This completely flips the horror on its head. The danger isn't happening to some random girl miles away. It's calling from inside his own timeline. It's his own identity. The call is coming from him. The psychological wall between the victim and our protagonist is just obliterated in an instant. With that psychological safety totally destroyed, we enter the next phase. The eyeless shadow in the dark. Suddenly, the lights in Aarav's room just cut out, completely on their own. He is plunged into absolute darkness, and this perfectly illustrates the trap finally snapping shut. Before, we had the girl's voice pulling him in, making him care. But now, through that exact same phone connection, a heavy male voice suddenly growls, "Now it's your turn." The bait was taken. The victim's voice is swapped for the predator's. It's this terrifying bait and switch that leaves Aarav completely exposed and defenseless in the dark. And then, in the pitch black of his own bedroom, Aarav hears it. Thud. Just one sound. It's the sudden, deliberate pacing of an ominous footstep, and it's coming from right behind him. Thud. Thud. Aarav slowly turns around in the dark. The sound design of the story is literally forcing a physical confrontation now. The monster isn't just a creepy voice on the phone anymore, guys. It is crossed over into his actual physical space. And here we get the terrifying visual confirmation. Aarav turns to see this tall, dark figure standing directly in his room. And, validating the girl's impossible claim from earlier, the entity has absolutely no eyes on his face. The psychological terror of that weird phone call has manifested into a tangible, inescapable nightmare right in front of him. The author takes the craziest, most unbelievable part of the story and makes it physically, undeniably real. Which brings us to the chilling conclusion of this suspense masterclass, the final warning. Let's break down the mechanics of this final scare, because it is so well done. Step 1, the phone. The device Aarav thought he was in control of switches to speaker mode entirely on its own. Step 2, the eyeless man's voice isn't just coming through the tiny earpiece anymore, it is physically echoing inside the room. The technology itself gets hijacked to amplify the monster's presence. Aarav's only tool for connection to the outside world is completely weaponized against him. So let's summarize the specific elements the author used here. I like to call this the isolation playbook. First, an unknown number at 3:17 a.m. catches the victim totally off guard. Second, a sudden power outage strips away all visual safety. Third, the introduction of a faceless, inescapable entity. And fourth, a forced technological connection that pipes the terror directly into the victim's personal space. It is a systematic stripping away of every single layer of Aarav's safety until he is completely isolated. And that leads us to this incredibly terrifying irony. The voice echoes through the room, "Don't hang up the call." The exact same phrase that started this whole story off as a desperate plea for help from a frightened girl, yeah, it was actually the monster's commanding trap all along. It's a brilliant cyclical ending that makes you rethink the entire narrative from the very first word. Honestly, it's just so clever. It leaves us with this final super provocative thought. Our phones are basically our lifelines, right? We sleep with them right next to our beds. We trust them to connect us to safety. But what happens when the very device we use for connection becomes the conduit for our doom? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this deep dive into narrative tension leaves you thinking and, maybe double checking your phone before you go to sleep tonight. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.